Hey, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about the prophecy of Boruto Uzumaki. Whether it's a prophecy of tragedy or a prophecy of hope and salvation. Specifically, I want to analyze the prophecy based on everything we've seen in both the anime and manga from Toneri Otsutsuki's perspective and Momoshiki Otsutsuki's perspective. I feel as though these perspectives are not two separate prophecies, but rather they're referring to the exact same prophecy just from different angles of it. The only real difference being that each Otsutsuki highlights points in the prophecy that they particularly favor. And throughout this video, I'm going to analyze different aspects of what each character says about Boruto's future. So when Momoshiki first appeared in Boruto's mind, he speaks as though he has already seen the future. Like he already knows the possibility of what is to happen. And I wanted to emphasize, I really mean the possibility. Just hold that thought for later. He says to Boruto he strongly has inherited the Otsutsuki's powers, yet he doesn't even realize it yet. And obviously he's referring to Boruto's Jougan eye and what it's truly capable of. So far throughout the anime, we've only seen Boruto use the Jougan on a subconscious level at periods of time when he's under intense stress and he needs to really take a stand to action. Interestingly enough, Momoshiki doesn't directly talk to Boruto outside of that one thing. He often speaks in terms of riddles. It's like almost as if he wants Boruto to worry about the future, but doesn't necessarily want to disclose how things are going to play out, because obviously the future is malleable. It's something that could easily be changed. And he interestingly says, those who defeat the gods shall not remain ordinary. Once again, speaking in riddles. Obviously, the proof of that sentiment was the concept of karma. Boruto and Kawaki didn't know it at the time, but their genetics were being altered in order to become vessels for the Otsutsuki. He knew Boruto would obtain his power, yet he also knew it would get to a point where he couldn't stop Momoshiki from taking over the more he relied on the karma's power. Interestingly enough, Momoshiki has had his plans foiled by Boruto on a couple of occasions whenever, Momoshiki tried to fight Kawaki. And based off of what we saw after the Ishiki fight, you could tell this was not something that Momoshiki predicted, which indicates that the future is malleable. You could tell that his original vision for Boruto was to essentially rewrite his existence. But now, after the events of chapter 67, we know that after reviving Boruto from Kawaki's death blow, that he cannot return fully in his original form, which leads to his plan B, which is essentially to have Boruto get to a state where he willingly wants to take over. So this is even pointing towards more evidence that even though he predicted the future may get to a point where it's different from his vision. So I was always kind of suspicious of Momoshiki's, prophecy and whether or not that things can change, because it always confused me that he happens to see into the future, but at the same time, he's surprised that Boruto was able to regain his consciousness and stop Momoshiki's plans and things like that. It just always confused me. Shouldn't he have expected that since he's seen the future? Maybe he only sees aspects of the future. But what solidified the possibility that the future can change is actually in chapter 78. Remember, Momoshiki assisted Kawaki in escaping the grasp of Shikamaru, Mitsuki, and Sasuke. Kawaki was pretty much low on options and out of chakra, so he was pretty much done for. To everyone's shock and confusion, though, Momoshiki allowed Kawaki to escape despite Kawaki wanting to kill him. It's like he wanted his vision for the future to come to pass. So he knew if Kawaki was captured in that moment, the dark prophecy that he held in high regards towards Boruto would never happen, and it would have been prevented. So letting Kawaki go actually worked to his favor long term. And now I'm about to explain why. It's in another quote he said from Boruto, "Beware, those blue eyes shall eventually take everything from you." So when we heard that sentiment the first time, we were all confused by that. Like, was Momoshiki referring to, Boruto's blue eyes? I mean, he did have the Jougan, but that's only in one eye, so it didn't really make sense. So a lot of people, this could still be interpreted in different ways. It could be argued that he was referring to Naruto from a metaphorical perspective. Naruto being, a character with blue eyes and leading Kawaki down a path of madness unintentionally. Naruto's existence pretty much raptured, Boruto's world, because Kawaki made a lot of selfish decisions that, essentially hurt Boruto, all for the sake of keeping Naruto alive and to himself. So you can interpret that from a metaphorical perspective, that Naruto's blue eyes being the thing to take away everything from Boruto. But actually, from a literal perspective, it was revealed in chapter 79, which is the most recent chapter at this time, that Ida was the true, being that Momoshiki was referring to, that essentially her Sharingan eyes altered Boruto's life and pretty much took everything away from him, because she cast the Shinjutsu Omnipotence and gave Boruto's life to Kawaki. It pretty much switched their lives around. So yeah, that's essentially what the prophecy was referring to. He warned Boruto that this would happen, but he didn't give Boruto specifics. Once again, proving that the future is malleable, because this all could have been prevented if Momoshiki didn't interfere and essentially stop, the Leaf Village from capturing Kawaki. So just something I wanted to point out there. So this is the portion of the video where I'm going to talk about Toneri's perspective of Boruto's prophecy. Similar to Momoshiki, he talks in riddles to Boruto rather than directly address what's going on. Also similar to Momoshiki, he's probably doing this because he wants to bring awareness to Boruto without necessarily altering the future, because obviously knowledge of events to come can alter those events happening and maybe could cause something even worse to occur. He says to Boruto, "Your light is the star of hope against the destruction that will come to pass." In my opinion, the destruction he's talking about is related to Kawaki in the time skip and is referencing the first scene of the Boruto series. Toneri proclaims that Boruto has to shoulder the fate of the entire world. And what did Kawaki declare in the first episode of the Boruto series? The age of shinobi is over. And it's funny that Boruto says, "Even so, I'm still a shinobi." Because even though everything is lost, Boruto's not giving up, and he wants to save what's left of the world, or maybe just try to get the world to a point of peace again. From my perspective, there's a lot of symbolism in Boruto's eye. I feel as though his eye, is kind of like a reference to his journey as a character. When we're first introduced to Boruto in the anime, we almost are immediately shown the Jougan eye. I think it was shown in episode 1. I'm talking about in the past. It was obviously shown in the fast forward scene, but it was also shown in the first episode when he was seeing those ghosts around the Leaf Village. This eye symbolizes how much control Boruto has over his life. At the beginning of the story, he's fully Boruto, the boy who has everything: a family, loyal friends, and even riches. Once he received the karma and it started extracting at a rapid rate because of obviously he was around Kawaki, notice how we didn't see the Jougan anymore. Rather, we see Boruto relying on powers that aren't truly his, which is Momoshiki's power, symbolizing Momoshiki's rule over Boruto's life. Then the story shifts from the perfect life of Boruto to the tragic tale of the Karma brothers, Boruto and Kawaki. The third phase of his life is where we transition to Boruto getting his scar. This is the story evolving towards hopelessness. Once Boruto was the son of the Hokage. Now his story transitioned to the vessel of Momoshiki. And now his tale transitions to the child who has nothing. And he has to start his life over as a rogue ninja. So for this final portion, I just want to go over Toneri's last words to Boruto in his dream. Toneri says that your eye will probably lead you to a light that dispels the darkness. From my perspective, this is Toneri foreshadowing the reemergence of the Jougan eye and essentially Boruto taking back his life. Just like Momoshiki's prophecy of blue eyes taking everything from him, this could be interpreted in different ways. From a very literal perspective, it's Boruto's Jougan bringing light to Boruto's blinded eye. But from a metaphorical perspective, this eye is Boruto obtaining his life again. Yes, Momoshiki will always be a part of his life. He will always be there. He is part of Boruto's DNA at this point. However, he will have to fall in line with Boruto and not cause Boruto trouble because Boruto will be stronger than Momoshiki. In fact, I predict that this will be a relationship of master and servant, with Boruto being the master and Momoshiki having to follow Boruto's will. This will not be a repeat of Naruto and Kurama where they both became friends and partners. In fact, it will always be the opposite of that. This will be the fourth part of Boruto's story, where he transitions from Boruto, the child of nothing, to Boruto, hero of the shadows.